Welcome back to the podcast where we ask the question, what makes you happy? My name is Jake Pearson, and today we have with us an intuitive counselor and mompreneur, Vanessa Perry from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Vanessa, how are you?
I am doing great. What an intro. How are
Practice this a
you?
lot. Yeah, I'm doing really well, thank you. Thank you for coming on the podcast to talk a little bit about your happiness. Are you excited?
I am excited. I when I wanted to be on this podcast, it was because I saw like just the name of your podcast, but then listening to some of them, I was like, what a great, just what a great podcast to just try to hear what makes people happy so that other people can feel happy.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You've summarized it better than I could. I keep trying to come up with an elaborate way, but moving off that, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? Well, I feel like my number one is always like being a mom because it's my favorite thing in the entire world, but it is also, not my whole identity. I would say that what makes me happy the most is helping people, like, even if it's in my personal life, but it is also what I do professionally, helping people, just kind of deprogram from what other people have told them they need to do and reprogram based on what their soul actually wants. Like nothing makes me happier than to watch somebody kind of blossom into themselves and kind of shed that skin of what you were supposed to do or what somebody trained you to do, and it's because I did it myself. So it's like any kind of healing that you do, you like want everybody to do it too, so that makes me so happy.
So it's pretty much like teaching people and helping them grow beyond the beliefs of others and into their own beliefs of what they're capable of themselves.
Yeah, because there's so much stuff that we learn, just accidentally, even through, even if we can have the greatest parents on earth, but sometimes one experience makes us believe something and then we just kind of go on believing it forever, and it can really mess us up when we're trying to make a good life for ourselves. So it's, I like I said, I like to do it even with my friends. It's not just about getting paid to do it because it feels good, and you see how it makes other people feel good and how they get happier and how it spreads, and it's just beautiful.
I feel like we could do a whole nother podcast about belief systems and where all that storms from, because it's such an important thing to discuss. But we will move on from that because first and foremost, I think that's beautiful that you love serving and helping just anyone to help them grow as a person. I'm very much the same way. Doesn't matter who they are. Just if someone wants to talk, it's the same way. So I love that we connect on the same thing. We find joy in similar things. What would you say to our listeners who are struggling to find a bit of happiness in their own life? What would your advice be?
Well, so, this happens to me quite frequently because of what I do. People coming to me for counseling, they're not usually coming to tell me about all the great things that are happening. They're really not finding the great things that are happening, and I'm there to help them. When we're struggling to find happiness, I think the most important thing, and I do this for myself, is I just kind of stop and pause and ask myself why I'm not happy. What is the deep down reason? Not just the event that happened, but what does that event mean to me? And that's why I'm unhappy. Because a lot of times we will find that it's a very simplistic, safety or, something like that we can find in another place. We're just kind of looking in one specific direction for it. And you can find happiness comes from connection, I believe. Like whatever the connection is, whether it's a spiritual connection or connection with other people, connection with nature happens for a lot of people. That's a, kind of a basic way that we can find some happiness. Go outside without your shoes on and stick your feet in the sand or in the grass and just really feel it, instead of just kind of, I did my task. How does it feel? Think about the magnificence of the world and the earth and all of the things that happened without any of your input, and how beautiful that actually is. And sometimes, that feeling can grow, into wonder and a connection that maybe is broken, and that's why we're unhappy.
Beautifully said. That's yet again another very unique perspective that I think our listeners, you guys, will definitely find something to take from. So Vanessa, thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing all things that make you happy and that wonderful piece of advice there.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful. I even feel happy because I talked about being happy.
Right? I don't know, it's infectious. Just talking about the things that make you happy can make you happier. We could go on again and again. But if you would love to connect with Vanessa, you could do so by checking out the podcast episode description below. There's a LinkedIn link and an Instagram link, and you can find out what type of counseling Vanessa does with her clients to help them feel more connected. Vanessa, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening to the podcast. We hope it gives you something to think about on your quest to discover what makes you happy. Make sure to check out whatmakesyouhappypodcast.com to connect with today's guest and follow us on all our social media platforms and to stay up to date at what's happening next at What Makes You Happy. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend, and we'll see you next time.